es que desde el gobierno, y paradójicamente, se puede impulsar.
It is also possible from the government to encourage the creation of a new state from the grassroots. The inherited state can foster the emergency of a new state from below that will bury the inherited state. The old state will promote his own death. Of course, the inherited bureaucracy will not promote this change. It's the revolutionary cadres who will nurture the new state from the inherited machine of the state, like it's clearly being done in Venezuela. From the government, they are promoting spaces in which the people are participating as communal councils, of which we have spoken, the idea of these small local governments in the urban areas consisting in some 200 to 400 families, in the rural zones 50 families, and in the distant zone like 10 families. It is about communities where the people know each other, they can easily meet, perhaps do not need transportation for meetings, and where people will not be fearful because they all know each other. In these places, certain tasks are undertaken. For example, planning what I want to do with my community, planning what work is needed to be performed when the state delivers resources to them, as it happened in Venezuela. It is not the state which decides, it is the local community which sets its priorities and gets a certain quantity of resources and decide where to invest those resources. But popular power needs not to be restrained to geographical area. In Cuba, popular power has been solely related to such areas. I remember there was a Cuban investigator who insisted that there had to be popular power also in the factories. There had to be two kinds of delegates, one from the workplace and another from the community. I think that was an interesting question, an interesting idea. Chavez has said that popular power is not only the community council, it is also the workers' councils. And I add those councils that comes from different sectors as health, education, sport, craftsworks, etc. So the idea is to plan starting from the dreams and the needs of the community, so to be able of distributing the resources appropriately. Now, there is a tendency from some compañeros, when developing these experiences in popular power from below, to reject the government as it is the enemy, when clearly, during the transition period, when we start with this inherited machinery of the state, but our governments are with revolutionary cadres, what we have to do is to develop a complementary relationship between the government and those organizations springing up from below. What is done from below cannot emerge alone. Resources are required. Initiative is required. There needs to be orientation from the ministries and their regulations. There is required a complementary relationship, and for that it is fundamental that there be an autonomous movement organized from below. That is very important. We cannot think that the state should create everything. The state provides possibilities, but the creation of the process is one that cannot be achieved by the state. It has to come from the initiative of the people.
Hay que tener también en cuenta, porque hay gente que dice, no, nosotros aquí somos los buenos, ¿no? Nosotros.
But it's necessary to also keep in mind that we cannot say, we are the good ones, our community, our assemblies, and the state is the bureaucracy. It is not like that. The inherited culture permeates not just the state, not just the people who work for the state, but also our own people in the community. We know of the experience of an Uruguayan elected as their next representative by an assembly of neighbors. This person, on the day after being elected, a person who has never worn a tie appears in the meeting with a tie. So there is a tendency towards bureaucratic deviation also from below, for representatives to become detached from the electors, even in the small communities. It is because of that it is important, so important, there be constant vigilance by the Citizens' Assembly regarding the elected compañeros. Another fundamental issue is to remember that the local entities, communal councils, communes, municipalities, popular councils, as the case of Cuba, generally have a local view of their reality, and the state, due to the role it plays in society, has to have a global view. And it is because of this a complementary relationship is again reaffirmed as the indispensable element. I think we have now addressed quite a lot of tasks which can be taken by the governments. There are many, as you can see. To those who say it is unimportant to gain the government, we have to make the revolution, I think that the historic experience of Latin America shows how important it is to have progressive governments of the left, especially when their leaders are revolutionaries. But our leaders should want to promote the organization from below. I say this because there are governments of the left who do well and are efficient, but do not foster the power of the people from below, which is the basic objective we want to pursue. They become efficient governments, but often practice neoliberal policies.